Become the change you want to see happening by marching to the polls and voting for that change. I'll be right back. Don't go away. Hi everyone, it's your girl Susie Q welcoming you back to my channel, My Stage, Your Platform. For those of you who watched my last video, you know that I talked about women's suffrage for their voting rights. I also talked about how difficult it was for Black women in the South to finally have the right to vote. I briefly mentioned skincare, a tutorial that will be coming up very soon, but for now, we only have a couple of weeks till election day, so I want to continue raising awareness on the importance of voting and why it is absolutely necessary for every citizen 18 and older to vote. I also believe that the continuous knowledge on voting and understanding what it entails might encourage the undecided voters to actually take action, knowing what is at stake for this year's election. And so, today's video will be about the Electoral College, a term that many of you hear about every 4 years during presidential elections, but some of you may not quite understand it. That is because it can also be a bit confusing to understand no matter what age you are. So do not feel bad if in fact it confuses you and you know nothing about it. Know that you're not alone. But I will do my best to explain the Electoral College and what it represents to you all in a layman's term and in a way that I'm hoping even a child could understand. So let's dive into this tutorial, shall we? 1. I want to make it clear that the Electoral College is not a place that grown-ups or adults go to college to study. It is a body of electors formed by the United States Constitution, which forms every 4 years for the main purpose of electing the President and Vice President of the United States. And 2, let's start with who can vote. For people who already know a bit about elections, adult 18 and older can sign up to vote, then go to a polling station to cast their ballot for a presidential candidate. Remember when we were in school and had to choose a class prefect or a class president or a school president? Whomever got the most individual vote became the school or class president, and the candidate with the least individual vote lost. In reality, you're thinking that the same process should be applied or is applied to the election of the President of the United States, right? That the candidate who got the most individual vote, also known as popular vote, became president, and whomever got the least individual vote did not become president, right? In reality, that mostly is correct. But the missing detail in this case is that the presidential vote comes from the Electoral College and not directly from you, the voter. You may be thinking that, I thought that if I voted that my vote goes directly to the candidate I want for president and vice president. Does that mean that my vote doesn't count? Your votes do count, but differently than you expect. This is how the Electoral College works. When you or anyone who votes cast your general election vote, you are actually voting for a group of people called electors in your state who make up the Electoral College. These electors then vote for president and vice president, but just because the Electoral College ultimately votes for the president does not mean that the electors can vote anyhow they want. We tell them indirectly how they should vote. Each state votes for who they want to be president. In other words, when we cast our vote, the electors later count our individual vote and then go ahead and cast their vote on our behalf for the candidate who had the highest individual counts, thanks to us, over the other candidates with lesser votes. Our vote tells the electors of our state how the state should vote for president and vice president. Now, there are 538 electors in the Electoral College from all 50 states and Washington, D.C. The Senate and House of Representatives and Washington, D.C. put together gives us 538 electors. United States have 100 senators and 435 representatives. Washington only has 3 representatives and no senators since it's not a state. While in your leisure time, find out how many electors are in your state. That's your homework. A good sports reference will say that, wow, electors from all 50 states and Washington, D.C. is about as many players on 10 NFL teams. Each state gets a number of electors depending on how many people live there. Bigger state gets bigger team of electors and smaller state gets smaller teams of electors. And just like how football teams do not take everyone who tries out, not just anyone can be an elector. Each state has its own rules on how electors are chosen. Usually, the political party of the primary election picks the electors. Now, there are two types of votes. One, the popular vote, which is everyone who voted or individual votes, and two, the electoral vote, which is the elector's vote. All presidential candidates want to get as many electoral votes as possible, but they do not need all 538 electoral votes to win. They only need 270, just a little over half to win. So 270 is what most presidential candidates want. In the case that neither presidential candidates receive the majority of electoral votes, the elections go to the House of Representatives to break the tie. All states, however, play by an all or nothing rule. This is where things could go right or wrong for a presidential candidate. Again, once everyone in a certain state votes, the Electoral College counts how many people voted for one presidential candidate and how many voted for the other. After counting, the candidate with the most popular vote wins all the electoral votes of that state. Every state uses this all or nothing rule, which is with the exception of Nebraska and Maine, who split their electoral vote. That is why it is extremely important that everyone age 18 and older in every town, in every state votes, because if a candidate wins the popular vote in the state by one itty bitty teeny vote, they get all the electoral college of that state. Here is the second explanation for the electoral college and the winner takes all rule. You, the individual voter, are the popular voter. You and a number of other individual voters, by casting your ballot, are telling your electors from your state that this presidential candidate is who you want as the next president of the United States. And your electors from your state then takes all your individual votes, counts them for each candidate, and vote on your behalf or on behalf of the people of the state by voting for the candidates with the highest number of votes in your state. Even if that candidate wins by one vote, all the other votes goes to him or her. That is the meaning of winner takes all and how it works in the Electoral College. That winning candidate by one vote or more automatically wins all the other votes from individual voters who did not necessarily vote for him or her. So even though you voted, you were voting for electors and not directly for your presidential candidate. The electors you voted for in your state now will cast their vote according to the highest number of majority of votes from the people of the state to a candidate. They say every vote counts. In some ways, it's true because your electors are casting their vote for a presidential candidate according to the highest number of people who voted for that specific candidate over the other. Again, even if that candidate wins by one vote, he takes all the other votes, which makes him the winner of that state or your state, whether or not you voted for him. It is, after all, a winner takes all rule. I know I'm repeating myself, but I just want people to clearly understand why it is essential to vote. So I will give you a third and final explanation, and I will let this go. This explanation you can also teach your children to understand how Electoral College works. Think of the Electoral College this way, that you and a classmate each have an empty basket and the rest of the class has Snicker bars, chocolate that they can only give you or your classmate. Your classmate place their Snicker bars in either your basket or the other basket. At the end, whichever person has the most Snicker bars in their basket wins all the Snicker bar chocolate. It is as simple as that. If you have the most Snicker bars in your basket, that means that your classmate like you more than they like the other mate. But if your running classmate with the other basket gets more Snicker bars than you got, it means that they like him or her more than they like you. That is why he got the most Snicker bars. Use this analogy and apply it to all states, not to be confused with Allstate Insurance Company. No. Electors from your state will take the highest Snicker bar count and vote you as the winner because it is what your classmates wanted, and that is why they placed more Snicker bars in your basket. This is how the Electoral College works, and how electors vote for president on behalf of people of their state. Now that you understand how the voting system works and the Electoral College with its winner takes all rule, if you want your candidate to win, you cannot sit at home, cross your legs and fingers, hoping for the best for your candidate. Get out there and vote for him or her, knowing fully well that he or she can lose by one vote, and that your vote could be the vote to negate that from happening and giving your candidate that one vote lead instead of his or her opponent. By going out there and voting, you are giving your candidate a bigger chance at winning than if you sat at home and did absolutely nothing at all. Many Americans today, including myself, wonder if the Electoral College is a good or bad way to elect presidents, if in fact it is fair. Some people think that it is fair because it allows smaller states with fewer people to have a voice in a presidential election. Others think that the Electoral College is unfair because it is possible that the presidential candidate who wins the electoral vote may lose a popular vote, which simply means that the majority of Americans didn't actually want the person who was elected president, like what happened during the 2000 and 2016 elections. Those presidential candidates in 2016 and 2000 won the most popular vote, meaning majority of the citizens wanted those individuals as their president, and technically they should have become the next president elected. But since they did not get the magic number 270 from the electorate, they automatically lost the election, although they had more votes from individual voters in general, making the Electoral College less democratic than a national direct popular vote, and thus I believe can be manipulated. Another reason why people think the Electoral College is bad is the fact that it allows a few unpredictable perennial swing states, also known as battleground states like Colorado, Florida, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Wisconsin, a lot of influence over the election. Due to the winner-takes-all style of the Electoral College, you will find that candidates often only campaign in these competitive states, which is also why a select group of states frequently receive a majority of advertisement and partisan media. These battleground or swing states have seen close contests over the last few presidential campaigns. In 2020 this year, these states I mentioned earlier account for a total of 156 electoral votes. With the issue of the coronavirus pandemic, I'm not sure how things will turn out in these key states, since they swing their votes between parties with each election. But all I know is that it's very essential to go out there and vote for your candidate. Two more things I want you all to keep in mind is that when you hear a swing state or battleground state, it means that it is a state that could reasonably be won by either the Democratic or the Republican presidential candidate. The states that usually lean to a single party are known as safe states. And with safe state, it's generally assumed that one candidate has a base of support from which they can draw a sufficient share of the electorate. One may ask why the Electoral College was created or why they can't get rid of it. Most Americans who understand the Electoral College and how it works have mixed ideas about why it is good or bad. Now, we all know that the Electoral College was not created to please everybody. Take this analogy for instance. Let's say you want to go out and have Italian food for dinner, but your wife wants to cook at home and have a homemade dish instead. So you offer to help your wife make Italian food for dinner at home. What you just did is called a compromise. By compromising, you got your Italian food, although at home, but you got it. And your wife got a homemade food at home, which she wanted. Both you and your wife are content, and that is what the founding fathers did to create the Electoral College. It is a compromise to states with lesser occupants, although there's more to it. To all academics out there, this is simply an explanation to simplify the understanding of Electoral College in the simplest and uncomplicated term to a 10-year-old and to people who may find it very, very confusing. So try not to judge the simplicity of things and ask questions like, what if there's a third party? If there's a third party, winner takes all rule applies to that third party candidate as well. he or she also needs 270 electoral votes to become president. The objective here is understanding the basic concept of the Electoral College, and I hope that I was able to effectively explain it to you all. I also hope that you understand it enough to know how very important your vote is and what it could do for your candidate. I really sincerely hope that you will all get out there on November 3rd and cast your ballot for your presidential candidate. Do not sit at home wishing for the best for your candidate, because that would not help anybody. Know the changes that needs to be made to continue preserving our democracy, and certainly by sitting at home and not voting, it could literally hurt the chances of the candidate you wish to win for president as well. He may lose because of that one vote that could have potentially be yours. Now, I know what I'll be doing come November 3rd. I'm going to be voting. What about you? What choice will you make a couple of weeks from now on November 3rd? Will you be doing your civic duty or taking it for granted? To all citizens out there, get out and vote. Ladies, women, do not forget the struggle of the women's suffragists. Now let the race to the magic number 270 begin on November 3rd, 2020. A word to the wise is enough. And that's all I have for you today. As always, you know I can't say goodbye to you all without thanking my subscribers. So thank you all for your support. If you did enjoy today's video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below this video or email them to me at susieakunyade@gmail.com, and I promise to get back to you. If you're new to this channel, do not forget to hit the subscribe button located on the right side of this video, and also right below this video to join the Q train wagon. At the top right side of your screen, you can also turn the notification bell on. At the top right side of your screen, you can also turn on your notification bell. That way you can be notified if I post any new videos. I have all my social media links in the comments section box below and also on my page. So go ahead and click away and let's get connected on social media. Once again, I thank you all for tuning in to My Stage, Your Platform. Until next time, I wish you all a safe and happy week. Be safe and smart out there.